Okay, hello and welcome to a short introductory tutorial of the Fastcase software. Before we begin, let me talk a little bit about what kind of documents you're going to find within the Fastcase databases. So Fastcase is a primary law database, meaning materials that are themselves the law. Secondary sources are not at this point integrated into our database, although we have announced a partnership with Hein Online, and at some point in the future, we'll be offering integration with their very impressive collection of secondary sources. We know your time is valuable, and that's why we built Fastcase the way that we have. We develop our tools to get you the relevant case law you're looking for as fast as possible. So here we go. We're going to pull up an advanced case search, and we do that by going right here to the advanced case law search. Now, I listen to a lot of tech podcasts, and they talk about fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory licenses pretty often. So maybe I've got a client who comes in and references the same. So let's take a look at cases that discuss that, and maybe we can figure out what it is. So fair, we'll use some proximity operators here. Reasonable. Of course, you still have to spell it properly. And we've got all jurisdictions selected, so let's go ahead and click search. All right, so by default, the search results are sorted by relevance, which you can see over here in this column. We calculate the relevance mostly based on how close your search terms are to each other and how frequently they appear within the opinion. But we do offer the ability for you to search by essentially any field that you're interested in sorting. Maybe you're looking for the most recent cases, so we could come over here to the decision date and we could click on that and order by the decision date. So you could sort that way. Or maybe you're looking for what you think might be the most authoritative cases. If you want to find the most authoritative cases in the area, we offer two ways for you to do exactly that. So the first way, showing you citations from the entire database, that would be this number over here, this column. That may be what you're more familiar to in other legal research platforms. What that does is search the entire database and see how many cases are citing to that case in the entire 7 million plus cases that we index at Fastcase. And in addition to that, we offer you an additional option that really sets Fastcase apart from some of the other legal research platforms you may have used in the past. So this column over here, under these results in the Authority Check tab, they tell you how many times your case was cited by just the cases within the displayed search results. So what does that mean? It means that if your search happens to yield a Supreme Court case, for instance, that is the most frequently cited case for establishing, let's say, personal jurisdiction. Traditional legal research software platforms might show you that case first because it is cited so frequently. But just because it's cited as a matter of course in establishing personal jurisdiction and it happens to contain your search terms doesn't necessarily mean that it's a particularly good case for this particular search, right? So our solution to that problem is giving you information about how important the case is or how important these search results think that that particular case is. This is reflected by the number next to these results in the Authority Check. A high number here probably means that the case is important given the proposition for which you are searching. One thing I should note here that works differently from some other legal platforms is the way that we use static URLs at Fastcase. That means that if I have a search that I've run that I like, I can go ahead and send the URL to a law clerk or an associate or anybody with Fastcase, and that URL will take them to the search that I've already performed. This works for literally everything in the database from cases to statutes and regs. So I could come up here and cut and paste this whole thing into a new tab, and we'll just search for that, and it'll take us back to our search results as if we had just run them. And the nice thing about it is that if there happened to be a new case that came out that met these search criteria while I had sent that email, it would re-perform the search and they would pop up in the search results. So what if I have a citation and I just want to pull a case? We go to search, then search cases. Then we enter in the citation. Note that even though there's the citation lookup option over here, we don't have to check that. All that does is perform sort of a more rigorous analysis about what your citation may be if you don't get it exactly right. So let's go ahead here and pull up 501, F3rd, 297. And I still get all jurisdictions selected. All right, and we can see that Broadscom has popped up. If we wanted to open it, we could just go ahead and click on it, and it would open. So what about multiple cases? Let's say I've got citations for multiple cases, and I want to print them all out. No problem, and there's no charge for viewing or printing cases on Fastcase ever. So we'll go back to the search cases again and input the cases that we're looking for. So we'll keep that one, and we'll add a few more. And let's say one more. Okay. Click search. So we've got Broadcom again here. We've got Eldred, which is the Copyright Term Extension Act case. And we've got one of the many Microsoft antitrust cases. So how do we print them out? All we need to do is click on the printer icons next to the names, and they'll automatically be added to your print queue. So let's go ahead and do that for all three of these. 1, 2, and 3. Next we go to print up here, view print queue, and our print queue is displayed. Here we have some options that you may be familiar with. We can save the documents to a single or double column. We can highlight search terms, and we can save in rich text format, PDF, or doc. We click print save, and these are all compiled into a single well-formatted document that we can email, open, or do anything we want to without restriction. Each case will appear on a separate page. Next, let's look at some features unique to Fastcase. We saw Eldred come up before, so let's run a search for Copyright Term Extension Act. So again, search cases. I'm going to do it all in quotes because I know exactly what I want. All right, so we can see up here there are 38 results. Not a lot, but it'd be nice to see how these cases fit together structurally. So let's go ahead and click on this tab up here that says Interactive Timeline. And so this is what the interactive timeline looks like here. Just at a quick glance, we can see the cases really start right around 1999 or so, and that makes sense since the Act was amended that year. We see immediately there are a few first test cases right around that time. And the one many of us are familiar with, Eldred v. Ashcroft, it's right here. If we hover over that, we can tell it's an important one because it's so big and it's located toward the top of the y-axis, which does signify relevance. Now, while looking at the interactive timeline, the size of the outside circles indicates how many times the case has been cited by cases in the entire database, while the yellow circles inside indicate how many times the case has been cited by the other cases displayed within this graph here. So just by glancing at the graph, we can see that the litigation around the CTEA was a pretty hot issue in the mid-90s, and then it sort of petered out after that. Let's go back to the case search so that we can see our next unique feature. Crafting great searches is straightforward when you have an understanding of the case law and how judges talk about your issues, but what if you don't? For that, we have a feature called Foresight. Let's continue down the path of our copyright geekery and run a search for abstraction test. I vaguely remember this from law school. I remember that it's important to figuring out if something is copyrightable, but I don't remember much beyond that. So let's try to refresh our memory here and go ahead and click search. So I'm looking at the first few cases here, and however, in and of itself, the abstraction test does not identify. Judge Hand's abstraction test, yeah, that sounds familiar, but I still don't really understand what it is or where it's from. Luckily, you might have noticed this yellow foresight indicator up here. It says that foresight at Fastcase has identified 3 additional decisions that may be relevant to your research topic, but do not contain one or more of your search terms. So let's expand this out. Just go over here and click View Results. And I see down here that the 3rd case listed is Sid and Marty Croft. And I remember that is indeed the case that I'm looking for, where Learned Hand develops the abstraction test to sort of delve into the idea-expression dichotomy. So how does this work? Well, what we do is we look at every case that's come up here in your search results. In this case, there are only 10 cases. But it turns out that those 10 cases have cited to Sid and Marty Croft on 6 different times. Foresight works by looking at all your search results and checking whether there are any cases cited by those cases in your results a lot, but that don't necessarily contain your search terms. That way, if you get in the ballpark with your search and get some relevant cases, you're really relying on Foresight to complete your search. It's a wonderful tool for legal research. Now, you may have noticed the big red flag next to auto skill over here in the search results. What's that about? Well, we process all cases in our database with something we call the bad law bot. Let's click on the case and take a look at it. Once we're in the case, we can click on the big red flag in the upper left-hand corner to pull up our bad law bot. Over here it says negative treatment indicated. We'll click on that. So this is a citation checker, but it's not an editorial checker. No humans have gone through and made an objective judgment call about whether or not your case is good law. What has happened is that Bad Law Bot has gone through every single subsequently citing case, and our algorithm is flagged when it thinks that the court has treated a case negatively. Indeed, looking at the excerpts here in bold in Bad Law Bot, we see that this case clearly has had some negative treatment, right? We see a citation to it here where the court says overruled on other grounds by TW Telecom. There's another one here, Western District of New York. They say essentially the same thing. So just by a quick glance, we can see this case clearly does have some negative treatment, or at least it does according to the opinion writers here. Bad Law Bot saves you the hassle of running an editorial citation analysis on every case. If you see a negative flag, you can usually tell by a quick glance whether or not the case has had any negative treatment. Finally, let's take a look at some statutes. So in sort of keeping with our theme here, let's take a look at Title 17. So we'll go to search statutes. And from here, if we just wanted to call up the specific statute that I'm ultimately probably going to look at, I would just click on the United States Code. I could type in 17 USC 102. And we could click search, and that would bring it up. But for now, I want to show off the browse tool because it is a very useful way of sort of appreciating the structure of the code. So let's go ahead and click on the browse tab. So we simply expand the titles and sections that we want in the tree grows to show us the statutes and how they're aligned in the hierarchy. So we'll go to the 2011. We'll go to Title 17, expand that, and then let's expand Chapter 1. Then I can sort of have a quick view of everything as it would appear in an index, and I'm just going to go ahead and click on 102. So when we click on the section we're looking for, the text of the statute appears in the center with the index staying open on the left. You're free to continue exploring the statutes by the tree on the left without having to reload or go back. So what about statute annotations? For every case in our database, we analyze them to see whether they cite to a statute, and when they do, they're added to the statute annotations. This happens automatically and as soon as we process a case, so there's no editorial delay whatsoever. At the bottom of every annotated statute, you will see a list of every case in our database that we have identified as having cited to it. They're ordered by authority by default, and so perhaps it isn't a surprise that Feist is the number 1 case here. You could sort by case name or decision date if you wanted to do that. This concludes our brief overview of Fastcase. There are a lot of tools here, and they're designed to supplement your legal research goals, no matter what they may be. And we think that as you get used to using the visualization and case identification tools that we've designed to improve your legal research, you'll see the benefits over traditional research platforms that you've become accustomed to in the past. Thanks for your time, and have a great day.